Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. Today, here on this wonderful day, we are going to work with a few different things. I'm just going to explore some ideas and talk about different types of ink today and play, and maybe we'll make a tag or two because the Tag Your It challenge is still going on, and there's still some really awesome things going on with the Tag Your It challenge. So I'm going to put that here so that you remember the hashtag for that, although we're not going to make necessarily tags today, but I wanted to show you some of these things that I've been playing with. So let me just tell you that paper is important. The paper that you use is important. This is the Ranger heavyweight distressed paper. Heavy stock. White heavy stock. Okay, it's good. It's good for sprays. I used it the other day when I was doing these backgrounds for these to make some cards, and it works pretty well for if you spray on it. It's okay. But if you just flat out put water on it like this with your brush, then it buckles. So just be prepared that it could buckle. Okay, and maybe that's part of what you're going for. I don't know. Wasn't really what I was going for, but it's what it is. So then after I played with that and I found that it was buckling, I got out some of my the distress cardstock that's watercolor cardstock that Ranger makes, and it took the water a little better. Of course, it's a little heavier, I think, even though they do say this is heavy stock. They don't tell you the weight of the paper of the heavy stock, but the watercolor paper is probably about 140 pound weight, which is what you typically want, and it's cold press, which means that it is does have a textured side. It's kind of hard to see in this camera, but there's a textured side and there's a smooth side. So I used the smooth side to create these, and I was creating these because I was inspired by the Kelly Wynn, I think it's called Color Kiss Challenge, and she does a different palette each week. And so I looked back at her tag and I saw that she had a blue indigo one, and I was just super. She said use the your Prussian blue and your Payne's gray, and I was like, oh, I love those colors, let me go play with those. So this was my yesterday 5 minutes of playing time, and then this week is purple, or violet. So I grabbed some of my Dena Wakely eggplant gloss spray and tried that. So we're going to try some of that today too. So I wanted to show you that I did those, and then I did a little reel yesterday of doing this. I really didn't know exactly what I was doing, but and so today I'm going to try it differently. Yesterday I was using some these Dollar Rowney inks, acrylic inks. I have a few Liquitex acrylic inks in the store. I don't have very many, so what I have is what I have. I can't get any more, so just be aware of that. But so I don't really want to show these today. I want to play with what I have, which is these Dynaflows, which says that they're free-flowing liquid color, which are good for fabric, but I'm just going to see what we get when we put it on paper, because hey, why not? We're mixed media artists. I have some fabric here I want to play with it on also, but I know that it won't work the same on the fabric, because it's almost like, it's really like a liquid watercolor, really, like it is. I've used it before. It's beautiful on fabric, but I want to see what it does when we put it on paper. So here we go. So I'm just gonna I shook it up a little because it looks like, and I do have Dynaflow in the store, but what I have is not jars like this. I have the small bottles, They're closer to, like, it's a sampler pack. It's closer to a bottle about this size, and you get about 6 different colors in a set. I think it's called an exciter pack. And so you can get them in that if you get from the store, from our store. I didn't want to buy all the jars because I have to buy like 3 at a time of each color. And I just didn't know which colors to get and everything. And I didn't know who would want to use them. So I just haven't done them yet. What's this one? Pewter. I actually like to work from the lid because the liquid is so flowy that you really don't need a whole lot. So I'm just going to, this is what I did yesterday. I just kind of put some water on the paper. And yes, it's watercolor paper. It's 140 pound Canson, I think. Canson? Yeah. It's Canson watercolor paper. And here, let me tell you something about this. Let me just give you a little bit of a idea here. This is very pretty. I like this a lot. It's a lot like a watercolor. It reacts in the way that a watercolor would react. So let me give you a little spiel about paper. I'm not an expert on paper, as I always say about things, but watercolor paper is not the same as mixed media paper. A lot of times companies call their stuff mixed media because they're saying, well, you can put acrylic paint on the paper. You can put acrylic paint on almost anything. It's not, acrylic is just going to sit on top. It's not going to soak in the same way that a watercolor would. You can draw on it. I think that's kind of what they mean when they say mixed media. Like, they're like, yeah, you could draw on this. It's not too bad. But it's usually, if you look at a mixed media, usually it's only like 90 or 110 pound paper. And I don't know what the GSM is on that. But so it's not typically a very, this is pretty, but it's just not very dark. There we go. It's not going to be a very heavy paper. I wonder what's going to happen if I do some of this green. This is like a green yellow, so it's called brass, I think. So I prefer to always get the like a 140 watercolor cold press. I don't worry about the hot press. I don't really have a place around that I can get hot press. So I just get the cold press and I buy it. Yes, I do buy it from Hobby Lobby or not even Hobby. Usually Michael's or Joann's when they're having one of their sales. Michael's a lot of times because I have a Michael's close by. So I would recommend, my highest recommendation is a cold press. If you're not going to be, you know, I don't even know. I've never really used hot press. I have one pad of hot press paper in the store. And it's a block. So it's actually glued on the edges so that it will not, it won't buckle as you're using it, which is helpful because you can see even this watercolor paper is buckling. I love how that looks though. The blocks are helpful, but you can get the blocks in watercolor, just plain watercolor paper too. I just like watercolor paper in general. I just like the heavy weight of it. I think that it's useful. I just like it better. So just to recap really quick, I'm using Dynaflows, which it says it's intended for fabric. I'm using it on watercolor paper. We're just playing with the idea of it's kind of like an acrylic ink. I also have some high flow, but I don't sell those, but I have golden high flows, which I like. I'm just kind of playing with these because they're like watercolor, but for some reason, I don't feel like getting the watercolor out and playing with it. So I feel like I can just play with this liquid watercolor. Apparently I really like turquoise because I bought 2 bottles of it when I bought it from my art store, my local art store. So in a minute here, we might get some fabric out and play with it on the fabric. But like I said, it's just, it doesn't react the same way because with fabric, you can't, it doesn't sit on the top like this. It will immediately soak in. So, it's a different, idea. You just have to have a different mindset when you're going into it. This just feels more like a watercolor. All right, so there's a couple of them, and then let me show you what I did. I put this other paper down so that it would absorb the paint better, differently. Okay, so then yesterday, because really I was looking at my paint, I was like, what purple do I have? Because violet's the color for the Color Kiss Challenge. So I was like, well, I really don't have any purple paint. You know what? I might though. Let me go get it. But this is a good opportunity to just kind of play with things. This is a magenta, but to me magenta is kind of like a purple. So I've got a Mica Stain, which is one of the new colors from, it's a Halloween special release from Ranger. It's 3 different colors. It's like an orange, a purple, and I think the green is in that group. I have both of them in the store. And then this is my, this is what I did yesterday. I wasn't really sure, you know, because acrylic spray is not the same as acrylic ink. But I was trying to figure out how they're different. So I just decided I was going to try playing with it and seeing what it does and how it reacts. And it's really interesting. You can get some really cool effects. Because I'm just willing to just kind of play with it. This is a Dena Wakley gloss spray. And so a lot of people say they don't like the gloss. Well, if you water it down and it soaks into your paper, it doesn't really look that glossy anymore. So I just love it when it blooms like that, though. You just have to be kind of like willing to play. And then the other day, yesterday, when I was playing with the ink, with these, no, not these, with this one, when I first started playing, somehow I accidentally picked up a little bit of a shaving from my Stabilo, and it got stuck in my brush, and these little glops right here, like that's actually a piece of the paper, of the pencil, that made me want to go and like play with shavings of my Stabilo. So that was fun. I did some of that on here too. This is also a little bit of paper of shavings from this. So don't, when you have to sharpen your pencil, which I have to sharpen my Stabilo all the time, don't discount the fact that you can use those little pieces to get some interesting effects. Okay, we might play with that in a little bit too. I'm gonna run out of time now, but this one, I think I actually did that a little bit with that one as well. The cool thing about acrylic in general, from what I've found in my practice in the last couple of days, is that you can just, it dries and it doesn't reactivate. So what you get is what you get. But you do have a little bit of time there when you can move stuff around. Love that Stabilo. Don't have them in the store, but I do have watercolor pencils that are pretty similar. Sketch and wash pencil. I've not been able to find Stabilos to be able to sell them, but you know, support your local art shop. Go check out and see if they have Stabilos. The Woodies are nice too. That's these guys. They come in a whole set. They're from Stabilo also. Pretty much the same idea. Same idea. Oh, they have a giant, a giant pencil sharpener with those. So let's see if we have some time. We're running out of time here. I'm just doing kind of the same thing. I'm just making circles with my water on my watercolor paper. It's very relaxing, actually. Had kind of a crazy morning. So then I'm going to take this one. And instead of spraying it, which can be very messy, ooh, look at that. I'm just going to, whoops, you know what? I'm going to shake it first because it's mica. The cool part about this mica spray is that it is very like iridescent, but you don't see it until after it really dries. So maybe it will call me a liar and show some iridescence here if you put it on thicker, but honestly I haven't played with it a whole lot. But see, it's spray, but you don't have to treat it like spray. You don't have to use it as spray. Let's see, we should do a different color now. I have all the purples, but I'm thinking we just should do, let's do some of the Payne's Gray of the fluid of this ink that I said I wasn't going to use because it's just too pretty. And that's not why I wasn't going to use it. I was going to use it because I don't have it in the store, but it's still pretty, so. It's very dark. This is so dark. Like I might just take this and then I might go over here and say, ooh, let me just throw some of that in there. And then the Payne's Gray mixes with the purple. It's very pretty and moody. I love Stabilo, but the Payne's Gray is so cool because it has that blue. It has a little bit of purple in it. It's so interesting. Don't always know what it's going to be. That one just might end up being a mess, but that's okay. All right, let's see. And this one actually started as a, I said I had some, I was like, these were the mixed media paper from, the watercolor paper from Distress. This is actually Canson that I just chopped down a big piece of paper into some smaller pieces because this way I can work on a whole bunch of different ones all at the same time. And then let's do really quick because we want to see what it looks like. This is a piece of white cotton fabric that it's called a charm square. They sell them already cut 5-inch squares. You can cut down any fabric. Also, I have not treated it or done anything to it. You can get fabric painting medium, but I don't worry about that because this Dynaflow is intended for using it on fabric. But I'm just going to tell you, it's going to soak in. It's not going to look quite the same. So fair warning in advance here. it's very similar, right? But it's not exactly going to be the same result. It's just interesting. I'm sure there's other ways to do this with the this ink, but or acrylic paint, I should say. Mix it a little more, get some purples going. We'll probably bring in some of that magenta, or the brass that's more of a blue color. And you know, you don't have to do circles. If you're like me, you end up with only a teeny tiny space to work, even when you're not doing filming. Let's see. I like to do splatters. Now, the next question is, what would it look like if we did, oops, I put the wrong lid on there. If we did acrylic ink on fabric. Oh, I like these because look how it makes it look like a little plus. That's kind of neat. It looks like stars. So what if we did like a little bit of acrylic ink? I feel like it kind of feels the same. The nice part about these is that they will not change the way your fabric feels, which is what makes them ideal for fabric. I'm just trying to use some of the paint from this because it's still wet. And I know if I use anything off of the, out of the bottle, it's just going to be too dark. What should I do? There. And some, okay, so let me do a little quick recap. We started off with talking about me doing some acrylic ink on watercolor paper, distress paper, the difference between watercolor and like the different kinds of weights of paper. I recommend 140 weight pounds. I don't know what that is in GSM. I think it's something like 300, but don't quote me on that. To prevent it from really buckling too much. You know, anything more is better. I did some acrylic inks. Actually, what I did was I played with the Dynaflows, which are intended for fabric, but they're like a liquid acrylic, maybe similar to High Flow. I don't know. Probably similar makeup to High Flow. So I'm looking for the ones that I did. I did this one and this one. Oh, and this one. And then I even tried doing some with my Dena Wakley gloss spray. And a little bit of Payne's Gray acrylic ink from Dailarani, which is what I have. Then we did a little bit, see how the purple, that mica, which is from Distress Mica spray from Tim Holtz. This is the Halloween one of the 3 in that set. And it's very shiny. It's iridescent, not glossy, but iridescent. And there's a little bit of maybe Payne's Gray on there. Maybe. No, or maybe that was my Stabilo. This is my Stabilo. I think I did Stabilo on that one. This is Payne's Gray. And then I did some Payne's Gray over here. It's very, very dark. And then we wanted to see what the Dynaflow would do on some fabric. So here's fabric. You can see it soaks in. This one's a little bit more vibrant. But the fabric hasn't changed. It's because of the fluidity of the ink. I'm going to call it ink. It's liquid acrylic, but liquid color is what they call it. It doesn't change your fabric. It's not going to make it stiff or change it in any way. Versus if you were just painting acrylic paint on your fabric, I believe me, even Jacquard makes a fabric paint too, textile paint, and it still has a little bit of a shiny plasticky feel because acrylic paint is plastic. So this is really good. This is also some acrylic ink on top of here in Payne's Gray because I just love Payne's Gray so much. Y'all, I really do. Okay, so you can get the Dynaflow in the store. I have the little bottles, testers. I have, you know, acrylic spray. I just recommend that you play with what you've got, and then, you know, if you have sprays, don't feel like you have to spray them. I know people say sprays are so messy. So think beyond the spray, right? It's a bottle of ink, of medium. It's a bottle of paint, right? Of color. There's a bottle of color there. Like, I didn't even try the dilutions. I know this stuff tends to be very, very pigmented and very strong, so I didn't even try it. I didn't try my Dynaflow, my golden acrylic high flow, but I could have. So, yeah, so I think that was good. I like my experiment. I hope you guys enjoyed this experiment too. And I hope that you'll join me on my Facebook. I hope to see you again next Tuesday. So thank you guys. Have a good and wonderful day.